Thank you, JJ. I want to talk a little bit about creative way to get deals on the contract, pretty much from the financing perspective, especially when you are starting. There is not much under your belt. There is not much credibility. It's a little difficult to get the gap funding. We get from the hard money lenders the 80% just out of the gate, but that last 20% could be a little difficult in certain markets. So that's going to be pretty much the focus of our conversation tonight. A little bit about me. I'm Cuban from, I born in Havana a lot of time ago. So I moved to Chile in the 90s, and I've been doing renovations since pretty much mid-90s, 1995, 1997. I started buying apartment, fixing, living in the apartment while I was doing the renovation, selling, and doing that kind of things. So I had the opportunity, and I was lucky enough to hear this Fortune Builder commercial on the radio and joined Mastery around 2016 and start doing this in a very systematized way, because before I was just like a side job. I was living in the house, doing things on my own and in a very slow pace. So I have a couple of deals under my belt, fundamentally in Baltimore. Baltimore was my primary market when I was living in the DMV area. I moved to Florida 2-3 years ago, and I started doing small things here, trying to implement everything back here in Florida. What I do in my company, in our partnership, is pretty much acquisition. I'm going to start sharing my screen right now. So this is our company, Ardo Real Estate. We are 5 partners, Rob, Patricia, Carlos, Anurag, and myself. This house that you see in the main street is a luxury home that we're building in Baltimore in Fells Point. It's not finished, so that's not going to be the front door. Don't worry about it. It's going to be changed. That is our feature project that is going to hit the market in a couple of months. So far, we are pretty much everything is finished. A couple of things with the city that have to be addressed, but everything else is getting finished, and the house we hope is going to hit the market in a couple of weeks from now. So that is pretty much the introduction. What I am, what I do. I'm part of the team that I belong. So this is what we're going to be talking about. Let me start a little bit with the structure of the rehab business, how we work here. We live on the spread. What I mean about this is we live in the difference between the ARB, that is the number that we cannot control. It's a number that is defined by the market. We can push it a little bit, but it's pretty much a number that is going to be set. The outcome of our renovation. It's not recommended to over-renovate. It's not recommended to under-renovate. But that number is going to be defined by the market, what people are buying in that area. For that number, we deduct pretty much 30% if we are using the maximum allowed formula, or that is also pretty much the number that is going to be taken apart by the deal analyzer. That in that 30% is going to be leaving our profit, also going to be leaving our holding costs. Also, to that number, to the result, to ARB minus 30%, we need to take out the renovation cost that is going to be determined by our scope of work and our ability to perform this renovation project. So I put that as a construction management. And that number in the result is going to be our purchase price of the offer that we're going to be making to put that house on the contract. So we live in this blue box that I named profit. That is the outcome that is going to be going into our pocket. So if we are not efficient doing the renovation and the renovation costs go bigger than what was planned at the beginning, our profit is reduced. If our holding costs go bigger because we stay in the project longer than expected, our number is going to be smaller. So the huge deal here is how we manage to make that little box that I name profit bigger. There is several ways. If we cannot move A or B, but we can get a better price through negotiation, our spread is going to be a little bigger. If we can handle a renovation cost that we can save some money on the renovation, that box is going to be bigger. If we do the project faster than we were thinking about it, that box is going to be bigger. So this third item here on the holding cost that I name an interest is pretty much the way that we are going to be playing with. If we can get financing with lower cost, that profit, that our box is going to be bigger. So it's very important, and everybody say it, and I will say it again because it's really, really important. We make money when we buy. So if we go and buy a house over price, our little box named profit is going to be reduced. And if in addition to that, we don't do a very good construction management, our number is going to be smaller. The critical way here is that that number could be negative if we don't have control of everything around the project. The lender is going to make money, the contractors are going to make money, and our profit, the way that we make money, is going to depend on how well we manage every single piece of the deal. In a standard deal, let's talk that we are going to finance a standard deal through cash, hard money loans, or private money lenders. Here in the deal is pretty much the same, but the way that we finance this is going to determine our risk level. So we use hard money loans, our cash on hand and our cash on the deal is going to be smaller. If we finance this with our money 100%, our exposure is really high. If we use a private money lender, we are putting part of the risk in the lender and our exposure, depending how much the private money lender is going to cover on the deal. Private money lender usually cover 100%, including closing costs and all that kind of thing. So it's our responsibility to perform because that money have to go back to that relationship. Private money lenders, as one of my friends told me once, is private people do private things. That money usually came from family. That money usually came from friends and people that, as JJ said, build a relationship with you. If you have a good deal, nobody cares because actually people don't lend on deals. People lend on people. So whoever is lending you money is lending to you. It's not lending to the deal. It's somebody that have the trust that you are going to be able to perform and produce that return on investment that you promised, that you're going to finish the house is going to be sold, you're going to make your profit, the lender is going to be paid, and everyone is going to be happy. We're going to deploy that money again, and we're going to do it again and again and again and again. And repeat. Continuity is what made this business. If we are doing one renovation, waiting until that renovation is finished to start looking for the other one, actually what we have is some kind of a hobby. We need to start doing in a way that we start several projects at the same time, or at least with an overlay of 1 or 2 weeks, we can do that. And at some point, we all will be in that position. We're going to start doing several projects in 1 week and managing several lenders, managing several banks, managing several relationships, managing several contractors. So a little modification about this, especially if you want to join your effort with somebody else for several reasons, JB agreements, JB deals are actually a little modification of this. I make a modification of the box profits because that profit that is going to be coming out of the deal now is the proceeds of the joint venture, and that is going to be split between you and your partner, independence of what was the agreement that you make before you start into this. Can be 30-70, can be a 70-30, can be a 50-50. It's something that you can actually manage. I can negotiate about that. This is the way that I start doing this systematically when I didn't have the money to close on the deals. So now what I was doing, I have the lenders, they have money loans in first position, and I was making GB agreement with friends that bring the money to close and put the deal on the contract and to do everything that I have to do before the first draw. And at the end of the project, we split profits. In my case, 50-50. That's the way that I started. So this is one very interesting way to do things in the real estate market. You can join forces with somebody that maybe, and there is very good trainings in mastery about GBs that you can take a look into that, because it's very important that the person and the compatibility of the partners have to be important. In my case, I'm just going to make a summary. Somebody told me once that you have time or money. So you have time, use it. If you have money, use it. So you should be looking for somebody. You have the money, you have to be looking for somebody that have the time. If you don't have the time, so you complement each other. If you have the time but don't have the money, you should be doing a GB with somebody that have the money to make some kind of relationship that actually works. If you put two guys with money and no time, that is not going to work. You put two guys with time with no money, that's not going to work. So that is the relationship from my perspective have to be complementary. So every partner have to be something different, something that make the company something that make that deal that group better. In our case, I do acquisition, Rob do financing and project management, Patricia do project management, Anurag do project management too, Carlos do designs and managing of materials and making sure that everything is in the project at the correct time. So that is pretty much our organization in the very, very like a 50,000 feet view. After that, we have another kind of deals. We have the subject to deals. That is usually what you take over an existing loan. So the profit, if you are not doing this in a GB agreement, I go back to the original entity that is myself, and that myself could be my company. You can take over a deal that have a lower interest rate, your offer can be higher. But you have to be very, very careful because we need to maximize, especially in a market like this one, that is really crazy. It's a seller market. There is no inventory. Everyone is fighting for the same house. And it's really, really difficult to get into a deal. If you have something that differentiates itself from the rest of the people out, and the seller can get a little more money or can be helped in some way with some kind of financial distress that I'm going to talk a little bit in a couple of slides after this one. That could be the difference for you to get that deal. So you can offer a little more. Basic, your interest are going to be lower. Your profit, your box is going to be higher. So you can sacrifice that a little bit, making a better offer, but your profit is going to be the same because when you plug all your numbers in the deal analyzer and you reduce the interest and the cost of financing, that profit can be shared with the seller in some way that the seller feels that your offer is stronger than the offer that somebody else is presenting. We have that one. And the other one that we have is owner financial deals. That is pretty much the same. the only difference here between owner financing and subject to, as you are not taking over any loan, you are taking a loan from the seller. The seller will be your bank, and all the negotiations about the terms, all the negotiation about the rates, all the negotiation about which is the state of the house, what have to be done to bring the house to the A or B conditions, can be negotiated directly with the seller. The seller can have some benefit from the tax perspective. They can get more return of investment. They can have a property that is free and clear. For example, if they just want to take the money out and they really don't want to stay in the market, or they want to just get out and they don't know what they're going to do with that money, well, they have the opportunity to turn that house in a passive investment and be the bank for a loan that is going to be secured by their own house. So in some way you fail, they take over the house. So it's something that is, from my perspective, a win-win situation. And I'm not going to talk about the other two ways that I start experimenting now, that I believe is going to be some kind of mix between owner financing and subject to. Especially, I'm going to just give a 2-second advertisement. If somebody have a loan and that loan have a very low interest rate, and they want to charge you a differential rate, they can be the bank in a loan that they own, and there's something that have to be addressed in some way. That I'm not a CPA, I'm not an attorney. I need to talk to my attorney and my CPA about how we can underwrite this, because we can expand this owner financial idea to start getting into the subject to or the underwriting, and that is can to open a lot of opportunities. This is pretty much the pipeline from the acquisition perspective, from my view. Okay, there is a lot of training in every single of these topics in mastery. You want to know how to do a scope of work, is over there. You know how to do marketing, direct mail, skip tracing, Facebook, YouTube, all that kind of things are in mastery. You can go there, take the training, and become an expert in every single of these topics. I'm just going to talk about my point of view, my perspective about this, and somehow can be a little disaligned with some of the teaching of our coaches, because this is a little adjust to my reality, to the reality of our company. So marketing, how we get these leads, especially in order to maximize our bucks, we will like to have deals out of market, because the commission that we pay is going to eat into our profit. I will make that little box. This little box is going to be smaller. Every time that we spend money in something, that money is going to be take out of our profit. So that is way marketing. We are trying to get deals that are coming out of market. That doesn't mean that we can do this through a real estate agent. You have a real estate agent that is bringing you somebody that fit for an owner financing deal, by all means, take it. If you have a real estate agent that is bringing something to you that is, I highlight here foreclosure, for example, for the subject to, but that doesn't mean that you cannot use subject to in distressed properties of distressed owner, that they are not necessary to be in foreclosure. Could be a standard deal, but what I'm doing here is what is working for me. I feel that I get better results for the subject to when I market to people facing foreclosure, because my pitch about subject to is that you don't let the bank take back your dreams. Don't let the bank take back your home. don't let the bank to destroy your credit. We can help. You are going to sell the house. You can walk away with some money, but we are going to take over your mortgage. Depending on how far are there in the payment, we are going to take the mortgage. We are going to put that back on current, but that mortgage back current, and we are not going to allow that the credit score of that person in particular is going to be destroyed, because we are going to keep that property from going to foreclosure. So we are going to jump in and we are going to save the situation. The house is going to be sold, the mortgage is going to be paid, and everyone is going to win in this scenario. But that doesn't mean that you cannot do subject to in another kind of deal. This is the people that I market the most for that kind of things. So I market subject to people that they are in pre-foreclosures and foreclosure list, and I get leads that came from somebody that is interested, that is have the house free and clear. So immediately, and taking back on something that JJ said previously to this call, you don't talk about business immediately. You need to build rapport. You need to know what the situation is before to jump into a conclusion that this deal is going to be a standard or GB, or going to be a subject to, it's going to be an owner financing. You need to know the situation and you need to know your market before you jump into that. I know what happened here in Florida, but I really don't know what is going to happen in California. This worked for me here. This worked for me in Baltimore. This worked for me in Philly, but I don't know if this is going to work in Los Angeles, for example. I believe it's going to do it, but I'm not sure. So when I market to a standard or JB kind of deal, the deal that are going to be on my own or with a partner, to distressed property, a distressed owner, is all what we learned in mastery. So what is a distressed property? Something that was deferred maintenance, something that is, and now that we have this massive flooding, flood, fire, that kind of distress in a property. And going back to my first, the flood insurance that we are going to start being paying in some areas are going to eat on that little box too. So that is something that is very important. You need to know your market. You need to know your area. You need to go online to your city and pull flooding maps, the school district, crime, that you can get crime areas from Trulia. You need to know what is going on, because all that little things that actually are huge deals are impacting your little box. So that's the way that I make my marketing. Standard is pretty much distress, it's kind of everything. That is my main pipeline of leads that they are coming. And I'm going to talk about a little things about how I get the leads. And this is my first channel. I do marketing to distressed owners, distressed properties. And when leads start coming in, you can assess the situation and know, oh, this is something that is perfect for a foreclosure subject to, because this property had a lot of equity in the house. These people have been paying the mortgage for 15 years, and now they are facing a financial situation. They are going to lose the house. They are going to lose the house, but there is a lot of equity here. We can help them to pull the equity. We can keep that loan current, so that is not going to happen. They are not going to face the foreclosure, and we can take advantage of the financial condition that they have on that loan. That is going to be 100% better than whatever you can get from a hard money lender. If you get some kind of boring investor, somebody that is here, for example, in the area that is north of Miami, around Palm Beach County, you are going to find many people that have that own the house free and clear. They don't leave the house. They just come here from vacation, this kind of snowbird or something like that. But the valuation of the property is pretty much 3 times at this point what they invest in the property. So it's a very good pitch to them. It's time to get out before the market correct. I tried many services, and the one that I'm still using, believe it or not, is RehabFlow. I know that there is a lot of detractors of RehabFlow. I know there is a lot of people that don't like it. I believe that they are not good leads. The reason why they believe that is because RehabFlow do not produce any leads. RehabFlow is just a database of public records. They are not leads. You need to turn that into leads. And that's the way that you get the information from the people that are facing foreclosure. And you start sending letters to them, to the house. You can post some kind of a direct mail campaign. You can have the United States Postal Service every door campaign, but you can send a postal directly to the house. You can do Facebook. You can do skip tracing, calling people. But in my experience, when they found you interesting, not because you buy houses, but because you know what you're doing, when you start sending marketing campaigns and the first video and the first email that you send, you talk about how to avoid a foreclosure doing a subject to. You didn't tell anybody that you can buy the house in that moment, and you become the voice of that topic in your market. When that person is ready to sell, when that person is ready to get into that particular exit strategy, guess who they are going to call? And that is something important. Maybe somehow, that's why every single coach said that most deals came from follow-up. The first touch, nobody's going to sell a house to you unless that people is really desperate. The second touch is a little warmer. The conversation is more familiar. You have built a rapport and you have been educate that seller in a way that you don't necessarily, you don't have to face foreclosure. We have a solution for that. Or if you own that house that you really want to sell and you really, maybe you can get better than any other offer that other people are giving to you if you give me terms. If you give me good terms, I can pay more than everybody else because my financing is going to allow me a little more of room in that blue box that I call profit. Negotiation. When we are going to negotiate this, is something that we base the conversation like everything. If we are going to do a cash standard offer, it's going to be a low offer, and it's going to be an offer that is going to be backed by our scope of work. Yes, your house value could be $350,000, but now, as is, the value of the house is lower than that because we need to put a new roof, we need to paint, we need to replace the AC, we need to do a new plumbing, we need to replace the electrical, we need to put a new panel, we need to do this. If you want to back up that with a home inspector, just hire a home inspector that is going to cost you $400 maximum, and they're going to produce a report of 25 pages of everything that is wrong with the house. When they say that, and that report is aligned with what you're telling them in the scope of work that is going to cost, and you're talking about real cost, let them to talk to a contractor. Replacing a roof in Florida went from $6.5 per square to $9.9 per square in the last 6 months. So a roof that was costing around $25,000 to replace, today is $42,000 in only 6 months of difference. So that is part of the negotiation. Remember the first slide. Remember the first one. ARV minus 30% minus renovation cost, that is what you can pay. When I say that I can pay more, it doesn't mean that if the number don't match, sometimes better not do the deal. But if you have good financing, you can get into that deal with a seller that is willing to finance you you have more room to do your renovation, and your profit box is getting bigger and bigger and bigger. Subject to, exactly the same. Standard, we need to do the scope of work exactly the same way. We need to justify everything that have to be done to the house, but we can pay a little more of our maximum annual offer because we have better terms. Our financing is lower, our box is a little big, and we can play with that number in order to be in a range that is comfortable to us, and that we can just adjust the price a little bit. We can do 10,000 more, we can do 20,000 more, depending on which is the market and which is what you're getting, the benefit that you're getting when you're assuming that loan. Owner financing is exactly the same. But in here, you need to add the topic of what is the return of investment of the seller when they become the bank. You're going to take that money, instead to put that money in the stock market, put that money in the real estate market. What asset you know better than your own house? So sell your house, become the bank in your house, and you can get a higher price because we can offer a little bit, plus the interest, because we're going to be paying the interest to them as they become the bank. So that return on investment of if they turn into the bank is something that is very important in that negotiation. In here, they will get all the proper documentation. They are going to have the mortgage deed, they are going to have the insurance, they are going to have the promissory note, everything that we sign to Bank of America, we sign to the seller. The seller becomes the bank. The bank is going to be our seller in this kind of deal. And if you are able to educate them, and that is a better way to get out of a very high value of a house in this market, plus the interest of the interest of the loan, they are going to get much more money. And also they may have some kind of tax benefits. One, again, I'm not a CPA, talk to your CPA, because they are going to pay transfer tax, but all that money is not coming to the income because the income is coming in little boxes, depending on how long that loan is. If you put that loan in 1 year, you put that loan in 5 years, 10, 15 years, but pay off with a balloon in 5 years. Or if you want to keep the house as an investment property and they agree to put that money in 25 years, it's very rare to find out, but maybe there is somebody there that they want to put that money from the sale of the house in a very long term, secured by the house, and they agree to put a mortgage in 30 years. I never found it. I never did it before, but that is a possibility. The numbers are there. Somebody will be willing to do it. The standard is going to be, the financing of the standard is going to be the same: cash, home money loan, private money lender, joint venture. And subject to is going to be assuming the current loan. If you need to put something additional, like a down payment or something like that, cash, private money lender to assume the second position. Owner financing, exactly the same. You need some cash, private money loan to cover the second position, can be that way. Unless you're a seller, you sell this so well that they are willing to finance 100% and you don't put any money at closing. Everything is possible, depending on what is the negotiation, what is the final goal of the seller from the financing perspective. That is pretty much what I have to say about it. There is, once again, we have a training for every single this topic in Mastery. We can go there. Don't learn marketing subject to campaign for a subject to from myself. You're going to learn my mistakes. It's better to go to the source. That is in Mastery. Don't learn how to do a direct mail from me because maybe I'm doing some kind. I could some corners. Go to the source. I learned from Mastery, so you need to go there and take all the training and all that kind of things. So that is everything that I have today. That is an idea. As I said, I was working into a project that is trying to mix subject to with owner financing to see if we can get some kind of hybrid that work better for us. This is a project, our last project that we sold in the Hamilton neighborhood in Baltimore. We sold this house on June 15, 2000 this year. On the left side, you can see the before. On the right side, you can see the after pictures. So it's exactly same room, exactly same angle, very similar angle, and you can see the difference in here.